Perhaps one of the more defining but comparatively less talked about rivalries in cricket has been South Africa versus Australia. It has two of the most crucial elements of a rivalry. Both teams are very good, and they truly disliked each other at one point. Think Australia's Cape Town ball tampering row. Now, there may not be an almost militaristic jingoism that one associates with an India-Pakistan match, for example, but South Africa facing Australia in a World Cup still carries emotional baggage and enough needle to keep fans on the edge of their seats. Remember the 1999 World Cup semi-final between the two teams in Birmingham? The match seesawed one way and then the other until Lance Klusener crashed 2 consecutive fours in the final over to take the score level with just a wicket left. All Alan Donald at the non-striker's end had to do was complete a single. He couldn't, and the match ended in a tie. The South African pacer, in an interview with the BBC recently, recalled a haunting image from that game, the face of a young fan. He said, and I quote, "Her head in her hands, she was weeping. I remember being dragged off the field by security guards. My legs were like jelly. I could barely walk. All I kept thinking was that I'd let this little girl down." End quote. It is a comment not just on the excellence and the expectation that came with the game, but also on the pressure and the way that meeting appeared to end eras, epochs defined in a day, and on the impossibility of ever living up to the hype. At the time, it was only the 15th tied ODI and the first in a World Cup. Australia advanced to the final by virtue of its superior net run rate, where it beat Pakistan to start a winning streak that would span 3 World Cup titles across 1999, 2003 and 2007. Along the way, in the 2007 World Cup semi-final against Australia, Jacques Kallis would fall to Glenn McGrath in the 6th over, one of 5 South African wickets in a skittish first 10 overs, to further perpetuate a fate smeared with heartaches and near misses. This year's Cricket World Cup semi-final comes at an interesting time in the landscape of South African sports. It reaffirmed its status last month as one of the most successful teams in the Rugby World Cup's relatively brief history, claiming its 2nd consecutive crown and 4th overall, the Springboks being the first team to manage that 2nd milestone. Meanwhile, it has been 33 years since South Africa was readmitted into international cricket after a 2-decade isolation imposed on the apartheid state, but the wait for silverware continues for this nation of close to 60 million. Alan Donald and Sachin Tendulkar shared the Player of the Match trophy in South Africa's first international match after readmission at the Eden Gardens in Calcutta in 1991. Mike Proctor, the coach of that South African team, wrote in his autobiography Caught in the Middle, "We had been told India truly loved their cricket, but we had no way of being able to comprehend it without seeing it for ourselves." Come Thursday, Themba Bavuma's men would hope to move a step closer to a golden chapter in the history of South African cricket at a venue where the country was once welcomed back into the sport with open arms.